Hi, this is Debbie Sue at Debbie Sue Creates, and I'm going to be making a new quilt. This one's going to be for a baby, and what I'm going to make is a kind of like I Spy quilt. It has lots of different designs on it, and it's super cute. There's like alphabets and looks like, what is there, teacups, some little teacups. There's some sailboats. There's just like a ton of different things. I think, so there's going to be 140 patches that I'm going to sew. These are 4-inch squares. And what I'm going to do is, it's going to be kind of like a 4-patch. It's an I Spy quilt, a 4-patch quilt. And I'm going to make it into a puff or bubble quilt. That's my goal. The first step is I've kind of matched these up so that they, well, at least they were matched up a minute ago. Anyway, so they're right sides facing. I'm going to go ahead and sew these with a 1/4-inch seam, and I'm going to chain sew them. So that I'm just going to sew all of these. There actually might be more than 140. I think I have about 150, but I'm just going to sew all of them. I'm going to do more, but this is just so you get an idea of how I'm piecing them together. That I have these squares like this. And then once I get them all sewn together, I'm going to go ahead and cut them apart. And then I'll go to the next step. And so let me finish all these, and then I will be back and show you my next step. Okay. Hi. So I was recording and I had a malfunction with my recording. So what I had in the beginning was I started out with these 4-inch squares, and I went ahead and put them together to chain piece them. So I just lined them up and then put the 1/4-inch line on there, or 1/4-inch seam, and chain piece them all. For the quilt I'm making, I need 140 squares, but I have 150 squares in this pack, so I just went ahead and chain pieced the 150. That way, if I want to use a different set of squares, I can. The quilt is going to be potentially 35 inches wide by 49 inches long. That's kind of my goal. We'll see what happens. So I got all of these 4-inch squares sewn together. And what I'm going to do next, my next step, is that each row is going to be 10 squares wide. And then I'm going to need 14 of those rows. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yep, 14 of those rows. And so what I'm going to do right now is I kind of have put them into sets of 5. And I'm going to sew these together, and I'm going to do it by, I have a light and a dark is kind of what I'm going for. And so I'm going to put it together with a light and dark, and I'll go ahead and just sew that there. And then once that's sewn, I'm going to go ahead and open it up, and then I'll sew it with another light and dark. I have that right here. And it's just random. I mean, it's just supposed to be kind of like a, you know, a little bit of a crazy quilt, or it doesn't have to be in any specific order. I'm just trying to stay mostly with light and dark. And so I've got 5 of them lined up here. I'm gonna go ahead and sew those all together, and I'll be back and show you what the next step is, okay? Okay, so I have sewn a couple rows. This was the first one that I did. And so you can kind of see that I got them all there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What I'm gonna do actually next is I want to iron the seams. I don't usually do a lot of ironing, but this is gonna have a lot of seams, and so I thought I would go ahead and iron it. And a lot of times I will iron so that like the light fabric, so instead of having the seam with the dark part going to the light fabric, I would turn it the other way. Normally I would go turn it like this, and then this one it would go in this way because you know, then the light going to the dark. But I'm going to actually iron it with the seams open and do that all along. So that's my next step. I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, I've got my little ironing board out, and I have this little iron that I'm using for this. And I'm just gonna kind of go across these and iron those seams flat. Yeah. So I'm hoping doing this will help me once everything gets a little bit more bulky and I have to sew this all together. But like I said, I don't normally do my seams this way, so I'm hoping. I mean, technically, if you didn't want to iron, you could, when you go to this sewing part, you could just open it up and then sew it, but I feel like this is probably a good idea. I know there's a lot of people out there that always comment that I need to iron my seams, so I'm trying to iron my seams. No, I guess I'm a rebel. So get this iron. Oh, that one's fighting me. All right, so there is one. And then I actually went ahead and did another one. So I'm gonna go ahead and iron this one too. And then once I have that all done, I'll meet you at the sewing machine and we'll do the next step. Okay, so I got all my seams ironed for these two. And then what I'm gonna do is I am gonna pin it. And what I'm gonna do is where the seams kind of line up, I just wanna make sure that those are lined up. And then I'm gonna pin it maybe about 1/2 inch to 1 inch from the edge so that when I sew the needle, the pin doesn't get in the way. So I've been pinning, go down here, match those up. Pin. And the reason I want to make sure that these are, I mean, if I have to squeeze it a little bit, if it's not a little bit uneven anywhere else, that's okay. But I really want these seams to match up because that's going to make my 4-patch look nice. So that's kind of the goal there. There are easier ways to do a 4-patch, and I have a video on that. But for this project, I wanted to do it in rows. I mean, I could have done the other thing, but I just had these 4-inch squares, and I wanted to use those and make it kind of more of a, for me, easier because I didn't have to cut anything really. So they're both really good ways to do things. So this is the way I'm doing it on this one. Okay, I'll finish well, let me just finish it. I only got 2 more to go. Let's get them lined up. I'll make sure the seams are down. And the last one. They pretty much line up they seem like they're lining up really easy. The ironing board I have that I'm using is this thing. It's called the Quilters Cut and Press 2. Pretty sure I got it at Walmart or Amazon. And then on the back side, it has a cutting mat. So it's pretty handy. And it also has a thing you can carry it or you can hang it on something. It's pretty handy. I don't feel like it's as, what do you call it? It's not the most expensive kind of cutting mat because it doesn't have as good of self-healing. You can kind of see the marks. I mean, it works pretty good. So that's what I use. I just wanted to show you that. And I'll meet you at the sewing machine. I gotta move my sewing machine back in camera here. All right, we're back at the sewing machine. And I'm gonna go ahead, this is the pin side where we have everything matched up. I'm gonna go ahead and do another 1/4 inch seam all the way down. All right, go ahead and take these pins out. Put them in my llama pin cushion. I made this, I just got this llama thing. I think you're supposed to put like a plant in it or something, but I just used like a regular pin cushion and stuck it in there, and I like it. So it's simple, but it's cute. I could have made like a handmade pin cushion to put in there, but I was like, oh, I have this one, I'll just stick it in there. So there's the llama. All right, so we've got it all sewn along the edge with that 1/4 inch seam all the way down. And then when we open it up, now we have all of this. Okay, and what it's going to be, I'm going to keep doing this. I'll keep adding rows, you know, just until I have my 14 rows. But each one of these is going to be like a 4-patch. So this is a 4-patch. This is a 4-patch. This is a 4-patch. This is a 4-patch. And this is a 4-patch. And I was going to make this blanket for my daughter. I was just going to do it exactly like this, put a backing on it, you know, put some batting, put a backing on it, you know, maybe quilt it and call it good. But then she's like, oh, I want a puff quilt. So I'm like, how can I use the fabric I have and my idea and incorporate it into a puff quilt? So my idea, I was thinking about doing puff quilts with just all of these little squares, but I felt it would be too small and I didn't really like, I think you can do it that way, but I just didn't like that idea. So I thought, well, what if I made each one of these a puff? So once it's all done, each 4-patch will be a puff. So I'll show you how I'm going to do it. This is kind of like something new. I've never done it before, and I'm hoping that it will turn out. I'm going to go ahead and finish sewing all of these rows, and then we'll go to the next step. Hi, so I'm back and I have my quilt all sewn together, all my patches, and I just wanted to show you how I did it on the back. So the back is, I ironed it and I made it so that all the seams are flat. Hopefully this will help me when I'm doing what I'm planning to do. So this quilt is going to be a 4-patch puff or bubble quilt, and I just had the idea that instead of doing each of the little patches, and so normally what you would do is with just a single patch, you would go about halfway down, kind of pinch it. The way I was planning to do is I would start sewing here, go past that, go to the next one, pinch that over about a 1/4 inch, so that, and just keep going down. But because I'm doing a 4-patch, it's actually going to be a little bit easier, at least to find the midpoint. So this is one of the 4 patches, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to this midline here. So it's going to be at the outside edge of this 4-patch, at that point right there. I'm going to go ahead and fold it in, kind of like right where the seam is. So when on the back, it automatically kind of wants to fold pretty much right where that 1/4 inch would be. And I'm going to go to the sewing machine and show you also, but I'm just kind of giving you an idea of what the next step is. So I'm going to sew right on the ditch down here, and then do that one. I'm going to go down to the next 4-patch, which is this one, keep sewing, and at this point, which is midpoint to this 4-patch, I'm going to go ahead and pull that in at a 1/4 inch, like that. And then keep sewing to the midpoint of the next 4-patch, which will be here. And I'm going to go all the way down. Once I get that row done, I'm going to move over to this next row, which is a 4-patch, and start midpoint to that one, midpoint to this one, midpoint to this one. That's gonna, you gotta keep track of where you're at. So you're gonna do, this is a 4-patch, so midpoint here. This is the next 4-patch, so midpoint there. This would be the next 4-patch, so I'm going to do midpoint here, and then all the way down, and so on, just all the way across. So let me get to the machine, and I'm going to kind of show you what I'm doing. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm at the sewing machine right now, and I decided I'm going to start on the right-hand side of my quilt. I was going to start on the left, but I just switched it over. I'm going to start on the right. So I've got it lined up, and I'm going to sew to, like, kind of pull that to that 1/4 inch. And I'm going to go ahead and start sewing. Here, let me get that pinch there again. And it doesn't have to be exact. You just kind of want it to be, you know, an approximate 1/4 inch. and at the center of the block, which it makes it easy with these 4 patches to find the center. Okay, that's not gonna work. Let's see. Let's go back. So actually, I think what I'm gonna do, this is called experimenting. I'm gonna go ahead and pin this. Let's see if I can get that in there. Because it doesn't want to stay where it needs to stay. Pin it right there. Okay, let's see if that will work. So the next one is going to be, well, I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to go down. So that's the first 4 patch. This is going to be the second 4 patch. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin that one ahead of time to help us out a little bit. And then pin that one there. Okay. Okay. So let me take these pins out, and then you can kind of see what it does. This is my first time doing this, so if it's kind of a little goofy because I am trying something new, I'm hoping it's going to turn out good. I think it will turn out good. But, and it, you know, you could just do the little squares, and then you have little puffs, but I wanted to try this as a 4 patch and see how that would work. So how it's going to work, see how it kind of makes this little pleat. These pleats are going to be going all the way. So I'll do this. I just did this row, and then I will go over to the next row of 4. So that was the first row. And when I did the first row, it actually did part of that. This is the first 4 patch. It did part of the second 4 patch. What's going to happen is, like, this will be like when I do this row, that'll be the the completed 4 patch going this way. Then I'm going to flip the whole quilt around once I do all the rows, and I'm going to pleat it on the other side. So then it'll have the puffy, I'll show you that step when I get to it, but they will be puffed up. So that was my first row. The other thing is that you could, if you wanted to, you could just, go ahead and just sew just that one section and then cut the thread and then start over again, if you're worried about saving thread. But I'm just sewing it all the way down, because when I'm done and I add the backing to it, I'm going to be sewing along this line anyway, so it's not like there wouldn't be a line there anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish all of the rows going this way, and I'll show you what that looks like, and then I'll go ahead and flip it around and go to that next step. Okay, I'm gonna do my second row, and I just thought I would show you from a different angle what it looks like, because I think my hands were kind of covering a lot of it. So I have this mid seam folded in half, and I'm gonna go ahead and sew this down. I'm not starting at the very end of the fabric because it's not necessary. Like I said, you could actually just only sew these little the little tags here, but let's go ahead and start this so you can see a little bit better picture. And then I'm just trying to stay kind of like on this center line here as best I can. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm a little bit off, but it's still okay. It's kind of hard to do it from this angle because I actually have the camera like right in front of me. But I'm hoping this kind of helps you to see what it looks like. All right, and I'm going to just keep going down till I'm at the bottom of the row, but I just wanted to give you that better angle. Okay, I'm doing my last row. I just kind of wanted to show you like where I am putting the quilt as I go. So as I'm going along, I'm just kind of like, I don't really have to roll it too much. I'm actually just like pushing it through, and it is fitting fine. If you had like a bigger quilt, you could probably like wrap it a little bit tighter, and it would fit in there no problem. So I just kind of wanted to show that part of it. All right. Okay, so you can kind of see how it's starting to ruffle up here. The next step I'm going to do, so I did it this way. Let's see. Yeah, I did it this way. So all of these are going like that. And then I'm going to flip the quilt this way. And going to actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the ends too. Let's see. Got that. Guess I should have done these like after that. Okay. So let's see. I just go crossed. And on these, so when I finish the blanket, we're going to do a 1/4 inch seam to attach the back. But so what you want to do is probably do like an 1/8 inch seam, you know, a smaller than 1/4 inch seam so it doesn't show through. So I'm going to make like an 1/8 inch seam. Okay, so I'm going to do about an 1/8 of an inch seam along the edge here. And then doing the fold over even with how this is right here, so you can kind of see where you need to do it. When I get down to this part, I'll be doing it again. And then when I get down to here, I'll be going over. Actually, this one looks like I need to tack that down better. I'll have to fix that. All right, so let me try this. So I did that first row, including this first edge also. And then now we're going to flip it. And we're going to start on this side. So this is the first patch. We're going to go to the middle of it, find the middle part, fold it over, and pin it. I didn't pin when I did the edge. Technically, if you're good enough at it, you might not have to pin it. I like to pin it so that I remember where I'm supposed to do the pleat, because I feel like with it being the 4 patch, it gets a little confusing, and then I'm like, I'm going to pleat it either too far down or not, or like too close to the next pleat. So that's the first one. And the second one is going to be right here. And then, and you can kind of tell where you're going to do it, because when you look at when we were going the other direction, this pleat is right here. So you're going to be kind of going in on the same line. So this is going to go right there. I mean, you can also just count the 4 patches to try to keep on track. Actually, did I do it wrong? See, this is why I say I do this. Okay, so I did the middle of that 4 patch, the middle of this 4 patch, then I have to do the middle of this 4 patch. Okay, so disregard what I said. You don't do it on, yeah. It's going to be the opposite of that. So wherever this is, it's going to be the next one down. This is called learning. Like I said, this is my first time doing this, and I'm hoping it's going to turn out really cool. But this is why I pin, because if I didn't, then, you know, I could sew it wrong, and then I have to use the seam ripper, which nobody likes to have to do that. There's that one. I'm going to go down. And then we got this one. And let's see. That's all I'm going to do on that. So I'll go ahead and start back at the top. Okay. All right, I'm gonna finish this row and I'll show you what I have when I'm done. Okay, so I've got my quilt top finished, and what I did is I have a piece of fleece that I'm going to use for the back, and I had it smooth it out on a flat surface as best you can, and then you take your quilt top. It's not going to lay down 100% flat because of all the pleating that we did, but you just kind of lay it out as flat as you can. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin it like this where the seams are along. I'm going to go ahead and do a whole bunch of pins along all the edges except for one end. So that far end over there, I'm not going to pin that part, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew starting in this left corner all the way down to here, and then across over here, and then up to the top part. So that is what I'm doing right now. I'm going to go ahead and finish my pinning, and then I'll meet you back at the sewing machine to do the sewing on this. Okay. I wanted to also say that I usually use better safety pins. I removed, a while ago, and I couldn't find my good safety pins, so had to use these little ones, and they work pretty good. But one of the other things I wanted to say is that when you're pinning, make sure you pin about maybe an inch from the edge, so that when we sew, we don't have to remove the pins. And so then I went all the way up, and then this top part right here is where the opening is going to be when we turn it inside out. So that part I did not pin. All right, we're going to go to the sewing machine. So this is the backing that I decided to use. It's kind of cute. I actually just had it in my leftover fabric stash, and I had enough because this blanket isn't very big, and it's for a boy. So I was going to go buy some different fleece or some minky or something like that, but then I saw this and I'm like, oh, I'll just use this. So I don't know that it's the best choice for a backing as far as like going with the front, but I think it's cute, and so this is the one I'm going to use. Okay, we're at the sewing machine. We have it all pinned together, right sides facing each other, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to actually start a little bit on this side, so I'm going to just sew a little bit here, and then I'm going to turn and go all the way around, and then when I get to the other end, when I finish, I'll be coming up here, and then I'll just go a little ways and then back stitch on both sides like that, and then this whole area will still be open. All right, so go ahead and put this under the machine, and we're gonna sew it like about a 1/4 inch. Might do a little bit more. I'm gonna kind of go, let's see, I have let's see if I can show you. When I did it, I have this seam right here that I sewed around, so I just want to make sure that I'm sewing to this side of that seam so that it won't show when I flip it over. All right. All right, I'm gonna just keep sewing just like this until I get to the third end of the third edge, and then I'll meet you back there. Okay, I got it sewed all the way around the 3 edges, and then so we have this area here at the end that's open, that we're going to turn it inside out. But before I do that, I'm going to go to my cutting table and I'm going to trim off this excess fleece, just like to the edge here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to trim this right pretty much to the edge, and then at the end I'm going to leave it a little bit longer, just in case I need for turning it in. So let me go do that and I'll show you what that looks like. All right. So once you have the edges trimmed, I'm going to actually, for the corners, just going to go ahead and a sec. I'm going to just trim a little on the corner for when I fold it. So it looks kind of like that. So just those two bottom corners, I think. Let's see. I guess this one I'll worry about later. But at this point, we could turn the quilt inside out. Just put my finger in there to kind of poke it. And that one. All right. So this is kind of what it looks like right now. And we're going to go back to the sewing machine and I will show you the next step. Okay. So the next step, once we have it all sewn together and flipped right side out, is I'm going to go ahead and go along the edge, and I'm going to use the Wonder Clips and clip these down. Kind of just pull this together and then clip it. And I'm going to do this all the way around. And then we're going to sew it 1/4 inch along this edge. So I'll do all the clips and then I'll meet you back at the sewing machine to do the sewing part. All right, I've got it all clipped with the Wonder Clips around the edge, and I'm going to go ahead and do like 1/4 inch seam all the way around the 3 sides. I'm going to go ahead and get it started. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just continue sewing all the way around, and then I will show you the next step. Okay, so now I'm at the step where I'm going to be sewing rows. Um, I'm going to do 2 rows at a time, and I went ahead and pinned. So I pinned in the center of this 4 patch and the center of this 4 patch, and then all along center of each of these 4 patches to the end. And then so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm going to do a seam right all the way up here to the end of that, and then also at the edge of this 4 patch I'm going to come up to there and then stop, and then the next 4 patch, so there, and the next 4 patch, so to there. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'm going to do that at the sewing machine, so I'll meet you right over there. All right, we're back at the sewing machine, and I'm going to go ahead and sew the first line right here, and get this going. Okay, so that was the first of the 2 squares, and I'm going to go ahead and move it down, and I'm going to do the next 2 squares over, and I'm going to just continue all the way across, and then I will show you the next step. All right, so I got them sewn, and I'm going to go ahead and take out the pins. I'm starting to get excited because I think I want to see the puffs. This is actually my first puff quilt I've ever made, and per request of my daughter who wanted to have one, so hopefully it will turn out good. I'm thinking it will. I got positive vibes on this, that everything's going to be good. And then maybe it'll give me the confidence to make a bigger one. Okay, so I've got all of those out. And so what we're going to do, kind of move the sewing machine back a little bit, is we're going to take this quilt and we're going to kind of turn it inside out again until we get down to, we don't really need to do it too much because this is, but I can reach my hand inside this now, and we're gonna go get my filling, and we're gonna put some in here, and let me go grab it. So I'm getting pretty excited for this. All right, so this is the filling that I got. It's the Polyfill Premium Polyester Fiber Fill. And this is what I got. So we're going to use that one. And I'm going to take like a handful of it. It'll probably take more than 1 handful, but I'm going to start with 1 handful. I'm going to reach inside there and start filling that puff up. So I'm probably thinking like maybe 3 handfuls. There's another one. that's going to make a nice size puff. I think 3 handfuls is pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go one more over, and I'm going to put some in this one. There's a handful. And you can put as much or as little as you want in here from what I have seen. You don't want to like stuff it too full, because then it might be hard to sew. But I'm thinking like probably 3 handfuls. Okay, I got those 2. And the reason you only do like 2 rows at a time is because it just makes it easier. I mean, I think probably my arm would fit through all of this, but I don't know. I just thought I would do 2 rows at a time. Because I have 14, let's see, I have 14. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess I have 7. So there's going to be an odd row. So maybe the last one I'll do like 3 rows or something. Maybe I put a little bit more. I kind of want it to be puffy, so. Just adding a little bit more to each of the rows. Like I said, this is my first time doing it, so it's kind of like just an experiment as far as how much to put in, because it's to your preference. I'm going to go ahead and finish these 2 more squares. I'm going to stuff those. Then we're going to go to the sewing machine. We're going to push everything in there as good as we can, and then we're going to sew along this line here. So let me finish stuffing it, and then we'll be back at the sewing machine to sew that first row. Okay, I've got them all stuffed, and I'm going to go ahead and I put the quilt over to the right of the sewing machine, the part that's not stuffed, and that way the bulky part will always be over to my left. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew right along the seam that the line that I have on here, and just like kind of pushing back the puff, or kind of flattening it out while I'm sewing. Okay, that's the first row. And so you can kind of see what it looks like on the back a little bit. You can see it's kind of poofy. I think that's pretty good. I put about like 4 small handfuls in. So I'm going to go ahead and stuff the next row and sew it. And then I'll, once those are done, then I'm going to do the same thing where I lay it out flat and I pin the centers. Just like I did the first time. So I'm going to basically do this, then I'll pin 2 more rows, sew it down the long way. So I have that channel, then stuff it, and then sew it this way. All right. That's looking really good. You can kind of see what the seam looks like on the other side. I think it looks nice. And it's really soft. I mean, if you wanted to, you could totally make it like even more poofy. I think when you wash it, it's going to poof out more too. All right, I'm going to get sewing, and probably the next step that I will be showing you will be finishing the edge to finish it up. So I will see you then. Okay, I just wanted to kind of update how it's going, and I decided I was able to get my arms, even though I have bigger arms, I was able to get my arms down the channels. So I went ahead and sewed all the way to the end instead of just doing 2 rows at a time. So I'm able to fit my hand, inside here, and then get it to go. Let's see if I can get it over there. It's getting bulky now. I'm able to get my hand in all the way up so that I can stuff it. The other thing I decided to do different is I decided to, like, after I got the stuffing in, I pinned it a little bit right here just to help me hold it for when I'm going to sew it. So go ahead, and the big bulk of it is still over to the left of the machine, so that's good. And we just move the camera out a little bit so you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and sew here, take the pin out as I go. You can see how poofy it is, and it's so cool. I think he's going to really like it. He's just going to be 1 year old this month, and he loves like looking at storybooks and seeing the pictures. So I think, you know, having these little things on here will be fun for him, and then the soft side of this will be nice. So, but it's coming out pretty good. I mean, it is bulky, but it's mostly bulky on the left side, so it's not under the machine. And definitely having the pins in here is helping. I don't know if you can see very well. Let me see if I can move it over here a little bit so you can kind of see. So you see how it's like that. Go ahead and take that out. Then you just push it through to get it out and pull it back around to the front. Move the camera again. There we go. Sorry about moving it everywhere, but I just wanted you to be able to see that. All right, so I've got 3 rows done now. And then this is what it looks like on the back so far. All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish it until I get to the end, and then we'll go over how to finish this up. Okay, so I've got all of my puffs stuffed, and I'm going to do my last row. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use my rotary blade to trim this, to trim this down, because what I'm going to do is that each of these things is going to get turned in just a little bit, and then probably about, you know, approximately a 1/4 inch like that, and then this part will also be put trimmed in. So let me trim it real quick and then I'll kind of show you what I mean. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and use my wonder clips to clip this edge here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this in and then match it with that. So let me clip that and I'll show you what I mean. So I clipped this part and matched them up, and then I just kind of pulled this section and clipped it also. And I'm gonna do the same thing all along. I'm gonna turn this down, match it with the other one, and clip this. So I'm gonna go ahead and do all of those and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I've got all of my wonder clips on here. I put a lot, but I kind of wanted to hold it good. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and sew. I'm probably gonna try to sew like pretty close to the edge there to make sure that I catch everything, and go to the sewing machine and we'll get this all finished. Yay! All right, at the sewing machine, we're gonna try to sew this. Let's see if I can get it under there. I'm gonna kind of slow it down because I'm gonna go slow on it this time. So I'm kind of thinking I might do a border just to kind of hide this to make it look nicer. But it is all done, and I really like it. All right, this is the finished product, and I think it came out really good. I really like it. And like, here's the back. And it ended up being about 25 by 37. So it definitely shrunk. So because like, here's my tape measure thing. There's 23. So I'm thinking it's around maybe about 25. And then for the length, there's the length. That goes to 35, and it's a little couple inches past that, so about 37. It is just so soft. I'm so glad my daughter wanted me to make it because I'm really happy with how it turned out. All right, well, I hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching my channel. If you liked it, please hit subscribe and like, and hopefully I'll be making some more cool things soon. Thank you. Okay, I've got it all done and I have the binding on it. And that's kind of what it looks like. And then from the back, and definitely there might be a better way to do a binding, or maybe I know that on the puff quilts you can do like a ruffle that you put on before you turn it inside out. That might be an option that would look cute. But this is the finished product, and I'm sure my daughter and my grandson will love it. And I hope you really like it too, and try this pattern. It was really fun.